Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another video. As you guys saw, I posted a video of a Ford Focus that I purchased that was a non-runner. It had a no crank, no start condition. I figured that out, got it all fixed, and now the Focus runs. Here it is at my house. I have done maybe 50 miles on it so far. It runs really well. I did an oil change on it. The other thing is I replaced the whole door handle assembly. As you guys can see, this is kind of like a tough textured, and this is gloss paint. The other thing I still need to do is replace the taillight, which we will be doing in this video. And I also need to see if they could sell me the badge that goes there, the Ford Focus badge. And lastly, I want to replace this whole trim. I've had another Ford Focus that had a very similar story. It just doesn't look good. It's not very difficult to replace, and it's like 40-45 bucks. It is early morning and it started to rain. So I'm gonna start this thing up, let it warm up. We're gonna head out to B&R Auto Wrecking, which isn't too far from my lot, and they should have all the Focus parts that I need. So I'm gonna order those, and probably within 2-3 days they will get there. They'll pick them up, and then we will replace everything, and the car will go through a detail, and I think it'll be ready to sell after I pass smog, of course. I didn't record the door handle replacement, but as you guys can see, literally I replaced the interior locking mechanism and the exterior. And the issue is, see this metal piece right here? This one right here, it broke, and then the door handle, there's another plastic piece that goes here, also broke. So when you would pull the door handle, it wasn't grabbing onto this metal lock piece, and it just wasn't opening it. So replaced both of it, and I actually had to take out this glass in order to do it, because it's so tight in there that taking this out, honestly, it helped a lot, and it wasn't too difficult to take it out. Ooh, I guess I'm glad that it's raining, because I see that these windshield wipers are terrible. So that's another thing I will have to get replaced on this car. Honestly guys, I think this is the car that I've probably replaced the most things on, and it almost looks like there's still stuff to do on it, but we're getting close. We're getting very, very close. And I'm here, guys. So this should be a pretty quick run in, order parts, get out.
A few moments later.
Bummer, bummer, bummer. I didn't get all the parts because they said they don't really sell miscellaneous pieces like badges and whatnot, so I'd have to buy a whole new fender. And she only has one, and it's 80 bucks, and it's in silver. And I mean, I don't need a fender. I literally just need that badge. So I'm gonna see if I could get one on eBay, or even call the dealer, see how much they want for a fender badge. The other thing they didn't have is the radio trim, the plastic bezel, whatever they call it. So eBay it is. That's where I found them before. That's where I bought them before. So heading back to the office, and hopefully I could find those parts on eBay. And clearly it's gonna take a little bit longer to get here, but I got a taillight. It's 45 bucks. It'll be here either tomorrow, or the worst case, by Thursday. I found the radio trim on eBay for 40 bucks. I'm going to order that. The other thing I looked for was the fender logo thing, bezel, whatever it's called. They want 75 bucks for it. And at that point, might as well buy the fender and then just sell the fender itself for like 40-50 bucks and recoup some money. So I gotta think about that, but everything else looks like it's on the way. So once I get the parts, we're gonna resume the video. I'm gonna finish this car up. And the other thing I got were windshield wipers for the Focus. Nice Bosch, good quality windshield wipers, so we'll install those also.
Several days later.
Few short days later, we have a new taillight. I got some new windshield wipers, which I showed you guys already. So we're gonna start by replacing windshield wipers, and then move on to the rear taillight. Very easy J-hook system. Lift it up, slide it off, and then put the new one in. Just like so. As I'm doing this all one-handed, there we go. Super, super, super easy. Done! Windshield wipers replaced. Got this out of the way, and then with the Phillips head, there's a few of these plastic, I don't know, like a screw and a bracket, I don't know what you want to call it. And then we pull from here gently, and the plastic cover will come out. Now I believe this should be a 10mm for the taillight. It looks like there's probably two of them. I was wrong, it's actually 12mm nuts. One here and one right there. With two of those out, you could gently just slide it out, wiggle a little bit, and it will come out. Now I'm going to disconnect. Well, actually, I'm taking them out with the bulbs because the new one doesn't have any bulbs. So it's just twist, pull out the bulbs, and then we'll get the new taillight in. There we go. New taillight is in. This one will go in the trash. Now I just have to tighten everything from the back end and put this back in. And I'm all done. I checked the turn signal, it works. The brake light also clearly works. That's it, that's it, that's it. I think detail, replace that center console trim right there. And I still haven't made up my mind about that fender trim right there. I'll probably honestly just sell it as is. Because honestly, I have already spent, I think, quite a bit more than what I paid for the car. And it's starting to remind me of the silver Ford Focus that I did maybe 2 months ago. If you guys haven't seen that video, please check it out. Very similar story in regards to expenses. But the big plus, I made really good money on that other Focus. So hopefully, I'll make really good money on this Focus.
Several days later.
Well guys, for you it's a split second or two, for me it's a few days. Off video I dropped off the Ford Focus to get detailed. I still have the center trim piece on its way. It's probably 3-4 days out. But I picked up the Ford Focus, started it, and it has a check engine light and I could feel a misfire. So they checked the code. Misfires for cylinder 1. Took off the ignition coil, put some air through it. There's definitely water kind of towards the spark plug area. So we'll see. I'm gonna have them knock off my costs for spark plugs and ignition coils, but looks like I gotta replace all spark plugs and ignition coils. Why is every freaking detailer the same? You know, they do like first 5-6 cars really good, and then they start, I don't want to use the butt word, but they half everything. Oh, it's so annoying to me, honestly. I mean, I don't mind it because I kind of enjoy this type of work, but it's extra work, and I already have enough projects. So I don't know, do I want to drive it, make sure the motor kind of warms up, gets rid of all the water, if that's the case, if that's even possible, or just suck it up, replace all spark plugs and all ignition coils. We'll see. See if it'll do it and if the camera will catch it. And before you guys say, well, what if that's how it is and you just didn't catch it? Yes, there's a possibility. Yeah, it's still missing. But that possibility is very, very, like the odds of that happening are very slim, because the way I run my business is before a car goes to detail, I make sure it's good mechanically. And you guys have seen this car. I drove it, I put 100 miles on it with absolutely no signs of misfire. Like, you could literally feel it. As soon as you put it into gear, you feel the slight misfire. and I've been around cars long enough to, like, it's obvious to me. And as soon as I got into the car, I put it in reverse. I, took my foot off the brake, and you could feel it kind of just jerking. Clear sign of a misfire. So, I don't know. The plus side is, I'm still waiting for that centerpiece, so I wasn't gonna list the car today, right now anyway. But the downside is, it's more expensive, and I already put a lot of money into this car, and it's more time. So, unfortunate. Alright guys, we're gonna run through the numbers and then we're gonna resume finishing up the darn Ford Focus. So, I purchased it for $600 plus auction fees. It was $770. Since it was an in-op, it cost me $200 to ship it here from Seattle compared to $150 that I usually pay for run and drive vehicles. $18 for the noise filter, $125 for the ignition switch and everything that's kind of, in that area that you guys saw in the previous video with the Focus. I purchased a brand new battery for it, 61 bucks. I did an oil change on it, which was $4 for the oil filter, and I didn't put the price for the oil itself, but say $20 for the oil. So 24 bucks for an oil change, $27 for the door handle because there was an opening from the outside, $45 for the rear taillight because it was cracked, $40 for the radio bezel trim that I still have to replace, $79 for the rotors and brake pads, $25 for emissions test, 170 bucks to get it detailed. That's, gonna put me 40 bucks out. $27 for new ignition coils and $12 for spark plugs. Now, these prices that you guys hear are wholesale prices. They are not retail, and this is kind of like exclusive to the dealership. I mean, other like body shops, dealers in the area pay very similar prices, but if $4 for an oil filter sounds cheap, that's because I pay half of retail. So originally it would be an $8 filter. Same thing for spark plugs. I'm paying $12 for spark plugs. Originally there'd be at least 24 bucks. So more or less what I'm buying is almost half or half from retail with my wholesale account. So I'm definitely saving a lot of money, but as of right now, I'll still have to take the car through the car wash, not counting my labor. I am $1,603 into this car, and I paid basically $770. So I have put in pretty much what I paid for the car plus some. But I do feel after this, the car will be nearly 100% ready to go. I can comfortably tell the new owner, like, a lot has been done to this car to make sure it is mechanically sound. The reason why I'm doing brake pads and rotors because under harder braking, I feel slight, like jerking, very slight, and that usually means the rotors are bad. And usually when I replace rotors, I always replace the brake pads, so I do both. Same with, like if I were to replace spark plugs, I always try to do ignition coils and spark plugs. I never replace just one spark plug, so the Focus is showing a misfire in cylinder 1. I am replacing all 4 spark plugs. I'm not taking it a chance, and I'm replacing all 4 ignition coils, so it's going to be 100% good to go with all brand new parts, quality parts. And honestly, I think for this car I will be asking kind of on the higher end, just because of, I mean, if a regular person were to do what I did to this car, they'd be paying $1,400-1,500 bucks to put all these new parts. And even the like ignition cylinder and everything that you guys saw, dealer charges $500-600 bucks. I paid like what, $120, $130 for $125 for the parts, and I did the labor myself, and it took me about an hour. So there's a lot of savings, and I think a lot of value in this Focus specifically. So we're gonna pause the video here, and we're gonna resume once I get more parts in, and I think everything is gonna be done at my house, because again, I'm comfortable there. I have all my tools there. I am just about to leave the lot, take this car home to kind of start working on it with the parts I do have. And check engine light is already on. I don't know when you guys are watching this, if you guys have seen my Jetta video that I purchased. So that car also has a misfire. I believe it was cylinder 4 misfire. And this one has a cylinder 1 misfire. Both are 4-cylinder cars. But I definitely feel the misfire on this car. That one, the Jetta, I wouldn't necessarily say I feel it. I only felt it like under hard acceleration. This one, between about 500 and 1,000 RPM, like I'm in traffic right now and I feel it, like slight jerk, slight jerk, slight jerk. And I don't like it when I feel it because I feel like I'm abusing the motor to some extent. So I'm gonna come home, I'm gonna replace the brake pads, the rotors, and the spark plugs that I have with me. And then once I get the ignition coils, I'll swap those out. It shouldn't take more than 10 minutes to do that. So it's kind of the game plan with this Focus Pocus. Made it to the shop, AKA home. And I'm gonna start with spark plugs. I'm not really afraid of the heat, but I am afraid of the rotor's heat, so I'm gonna let it cool off as I replace the spark plugs. Then I'm gonna jump in and replace rotors and pads. Work, work, work. Ignition coils, spark plugs are super easy on the Focus. So we have 8mm bolts that hold down the ignition coils. And we have 4 electrical pins, which are super easy to remove. And then essentially once you get the 4 bolts out, you just pull these out and that will expose the spark plug, which, you know, is why it's so easy to get water in here, because it's not protected. There's no cover or anything. Super easy, super easy. I'm gonna place them on the side. Easiest way to get spark plugs out is with the spark plug socket. What do I have, a 5/8? Drop it in there. 2 hands, I don't want to strip anything. Even with 2 hands, it was a little bit tight. Even now it's a little bit tight to come out, which is not very typical. But I'm gonna work on getting 4 of these out. New spark plugs are out, or old spark plugs are out. I'm gonna open up the new ones. I'm using NGK G-Power. I'm gonna drop them in and work backwards. New spark plugs are dropped in. And what I always highly, where's my light, recommend is threading them by hand. Oh, it's bright. But once you get it threaded by hand, now you could use a socket to tighten it, but be very, very careful and gentle so you don't over tighten it and strip the thread. So cylinder 1 that was misfiring, I put the ignition coil here. So on cylinder 2, and I'll clear the codes and see if it follows, but now we're just putting in those 8mm bolts, connecting the connectors, and that's it. And I think for the sake of time in this video, once I do get the ignition coils, regardless whether it's gonna misfire or not, I'm gonna replace them, but I'll do that off video. It's been running for about a minute now, and I don't see any misfires. So there's no more of that running, a slight jerk, running, slight jerk. So I don't think it has a misfire anymore. Yeah, even RPMs are stable now. So at least I could drive it. Hopefully no more misfire, but if it does, ignition coils are on the way. So now let's move on to the brake pads and rotors. Got the tire off. We're gonna do a really quick type of video. So I have my 16 or 15mm and 14mm. So 14 is gonna go for this bolt and the one right under it. I'm struggling to get light. And then 15 will be this one that basically holds this piece, and then 14mm for the brake pad housing. And then the rotor itself should come off. Ran my fingers through it. I don't feel any ridges, so kind of surprised that it's giving me some vibration. Maybe the other side is the side that has issues, but brake pads are pretty darn low, maybe 20% left, so I guess it's a good thing that we're replacing everything. Boy, do I have a stubborn caliper. I'm trying to get it off the brake pads and it just doesn't want to budge. This is supposed to be easy. Come on, Focus. Focus. There we go, you stubborn son of a gun. I'm trying to make you feel better. You're not letting me. Actually, I'll show you guys. There's that life. Not much left. Once you get both of these 15mm bolts out, the assembly will just come out. If you're lucky and it's not rusted on, that's it. Super easy. So now we get to slide the new stuff on. I love the look of new parts. Look at that. That compared to that. What a difference. I got some grease on the bolts. That went in smoothly. Everything is buttoned down here. So now we have to decompress this piston, and hopefully it's not stuck and it's operating as it should. And this is the system I use, old brake pad. And then this is a tool I got off of eBay. Then you basically turn it and it should compress. And so far it seems like it's going in very smoothly, which is a big plus, but I'm gonna use 2 hands. Bada boom, bada bam. New pads are in. Now where you put the housing over, tighten everything, put the tire wheel back on, and this side is done. And the other side, of course, I'm gonna do off video. No point of doing both sides, but just wanna make it a little bit quicker.
A few moments later.
Still have some daylight, so I'm going to drive it. Now after brake pads, rotors, any brake work, pump your brakes before you go anywhere. Pump them good so that you have everything in order before you start driving. So there we go. Oops, forgot to clear the check engine code, but I guess now I could see if I feel the misfire when I'm driving it. But I'm not gonna go far. Just a quick loop around the neighborhood, make sure brakes are operating as expected, no funny business. Brakes feel amazing. I don't feel the misfire anymore. So 2 more things to do: replace this radio bezel and replace the ignition coils. Take this car through a car wash and it's ready to go. Just got a notification that the center bezel thing has been delivered. Yes. So if not for ignition coils, this car could have been done and listed tomorrow, but gotta wait a few more days.
Several days later.
It has been a few days. I have the radio bezel trim in front of me. I'm gonna open it up and take a look at it. And the ignition coils are actually on their way. They will get delivered today. But I've been driving the Focus last 2 days or so, and I probably put maybe 60 miles on it. There is no check engine light, no misfiring. The car runs really, really well again. And I know I said that I'm gonna replace the ignition coils regardless of the outcome, but I've been kind of thinking today, the ignition coils I have in the car right now are OEM Motorcraft ignition coils, and I bought aftermarket ones. Should I put more or less a cheaper product into a car that has perfectly working ignition coils? And the thought that runs in my mind is no, you shouldn't. So I know I said I would regardless, but I think after thinking about it for a little bit, this makes more sense. Just leave the OEM. They're probably better quality ignition coils than the ones I bought. And I'll have to decide if I want to sell the car with brand new ignition coils and just be like, hey, I was going to replace them, but these are working just fine. This is kind of down the road maintenance item because it has new spark plugs. If you do get a misfire, here's new ignition coils. You don't have to worry about it, or just return them. But I'm leaning more towards just leave them in the car so the buyer, you know, kind of has some preventative maintenance items for the future. But here's our bezel. Looking at all the tabs, everything seems to be fine. They kind of cut the wires here, and no nasty, I don't know what to call it, like acidic stuff on this one. But what I am gonna do is actually wipe all this down because the car did get detailed and this is not clean. So I'll clean it up and then I'll start working on pulling the old one out so we could put this new one in. Let's see if I remember how to do this. So basically pull this section up. I put the gear into neutral. Now the car is yelling at me, I can't pull the key out, but this gives me enough room where I could slide this back. We could take this out for now. And I believe it should be like 7 or 8 millimeter bolts on this side and then on this side. So I'm gonna go grab my tools and undo it, and then this should essentially be held by clips. I've been actually working on a magic trick for you guys. Show it to you. Voila! Magic trick. Just kidding, guys, clearly. I remembered it to be a lot easier than what it was. That took probably 40 minutes to do, but I think it's well worth it. It looks a lot better now. I am happy with the result. So tomorrow, I'm gonna take it through the car wash and I'm gonna photograph it and finish up this video.
The next day.
I brought the Focus to the lot. There it is. One more thing before I get it listed for sale. So I've been driving it since I replaced the spark plugs and everything else, and I've done, I don't know, maybe 90 miles on it. So I'm gonna hook up my computer to it right now, see if all the onboard computers went through their cycle. Looks like we are good to go. I will just confirm, but that already shows me that it's good to go. See, okay, 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 NA, okay, okay. If it would have said INC, standing for incomplete, that's it. No trouble codes, no nothing. It's ready to go. It will pass smog. Smog is closed today. That's why I'm not gonna take it through today, but tomorrow or day after, I'm gonna take it through smog, and then this car is gonna be officially done. It's gonna be completed. This was a 2-part video, so if you haven't seen the first part, make sure you check it out. I bought this Focus as a non-runner. I put a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of money into this thing to make it what it is. The only thing I did not take care of is this little badge right here. But considering everything else that has been done to this car, I think it's okay. I'm gonna leave it just like this. So I'm gonna park it, take photos of it, list it for sale. I appreciate you guys watching. Thank you so much for your support. Please consider subscribing if you're not a subscriber already. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up. I'll see you guys in another video.